I must say you look very well.
Thank you. You as well?
Thank you. It seems that my prayers also for you worked. So I learned of the death of your brother. I'm so sorry about that. I did keep you and your family in prayer.
Thank you.
And I want to say, well, thank you for having me here, and also thank you.
Oh yeah, and I'm joining and say welcome to Meet the Opposition. Like the new candidates say to me, I have to change the name of the program and call it Meet the Government in Waking.
I agree
very
completely. Thank you, and a very pleasant good morning to viewers and listeners. I just wanted to butt in, Spider, on the whole question of the insurance, which is something that's so important. I mean, your health insurance is something most people who have health insurance and life insurance, they do a salary deduction. You don't want to mess with that, you know? You want that to come out of your salary before you get your salary, because this is what it is, insurance. For unforeseen circumstances, calamities, you want to be covered. And when you think of what the police do, at no point should their insurance not be paid. At no point. And this is where, I mean, you can say you care, but you must show you care. Don't tell me you care. I don't need to hear you say it. I want to see that you care. And this is something that is so very clear. How can we be in a situation of such heightened crime, in a situation where we have so many road accidents, so many fires? Every day the police and firefighters go out there and put their lives at risk. And even if nothing happens, they want to have the confidence. They want to know that they can go out there and do it. I mean, just think of the families who are having sleepless nights because daddy's out there protecting the citizenry. Mommy is out there as a police officer protecting the citizenry. And we can get bad news at any point. And just to think that that person is not covered and that the government doesn't understand the importance, that it has to 6 months in arrears, is totally unacceptable. And that says everything.
Let me ask you something.
That says everything.
As former ministers, both of you, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you think you have time as a minister? You have so much on your plate, okay? Vis-a-vis the Prime Minister, for example, who has much more on his plate. I'm just asking the question. As former ministers, do you have time to worry about things like invoices?
No, normally not.
Right.
So you figure those who are...
Right, but you put the systems and procedures in place. The minister has direction and control over his ministry. I think this is what the Constitution says. Or if it's not a Constitution, it is in a document somewhere. I think it's the Constitution. The minister has direction and control of his ministry. It means the buck stops with him or her. So what I used to do, for example, even as a young minister when I first came in, and Andrew, the thing is, you don't get any courses or coaching before you become a minister. I mean, I did politics A-level and I did constitution and admin law in my law degree. You can do the theory, but there's nothing really that gives you the practical know-how. I mean, you go there and you put yourself up politics, you get elected, and you have a ministry the next day if the Prime Minister chooses to appoint you as a cabinet minister. What I used to do was have policy meetings every week. Every Monday or Tuesday, I sat with my key heads of departments. I did this as a young Minister of Health when I got in at 26, 27. And I said, okay, is there anything I need to know? Right? Minister so-and-so hasn't done this. Do we have any issues that I should know about? Well, Minister, we haven't paid this. I said, well, okay, can we address this week? And next week, we would keep records of our meetings and we would list what needs to be followed upon. So you put systems in place to make sure you're on top of things.
Okay, because when I hear things like toilet paper and so on, I'm saying, as a minister, you don't have time to be worrying about toilet paper.
Yes, but if there is some negligence down the line and it is escalated, brought to your attention, it is your responsibility as minister to follow up and find out what is wrong, where's the breakdown, and why it is not addressed. You know, so ultimately, like Sarah says, the buck stops with you.
And then you have your heads of departments at these meetings. So they have, this is why there's a chain of authority. so that the minister is not supposed to go out there and buy the toilet paper, or no, but there's a head of department, there's a supervisor, so that it escalates, and many things are dealt with before they get to the minister's level, and they should be dealt with. But if it's not happening, you need to have a system whereby you can be on top of things. Now, there will be situations where things have slipped through a crack and you head outside before you head inside. That happens. But still, you can immediately call and say, why am I hearing this? Can I have a report on my desk by the end of the day so I know what's going on? You will get that report, and then you will, well, okay, we need an urgent meeting to address this. This cannot go on. So you have direction and control, and your staff are accountable to you as you are accountable to the people. So there's a method, there's a system by which things ought not to get to this level.
I understand.
Yes, now, Andre, I'll pivot a little. I mean, now that I have my guest in studio, former Minister of Government, as she indicated, when she was very young, she was a former Minister of Health. Of late, she was former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and 3-time parliamentary representative of Castries Central. Yeah. You know, and we're happy to have you here. I mean, it's not too much to welcome you once again.
Thanks, bye.
And I will turn my attention to you. My listeners and viewers always prefer to hear my guests than they want to hear me.
You're very popular, Spider. There are lots of people who look forward to hearing you.
And so I am going to start off with you on some matters that I think you're better qualified to deal with than both Andrea and I.
Hopefully.
Matters that touch and concern the issue of gender, women in particular in this country, and where, we have seen a few incidents that have taken place. But I'm going to start off, since we're talking about police, I'm going to start off from there. There was this incident not too long ago where Miss Eldris Charles, a media person, made an allegation that a minister of government, Dr. Ernest Hiller, pushed her. And I think that matter there was a charge, I understand. The minister was brought to a lineup and all of this thing. I do not know where it stands right now. But I know these are matters that are of concern to you as a woman yourself. I want to hear your take on this whole matter, because for some reason I think you're well placed to speak on the issue. Not only you are a former minister yourself, you are a woman, and you have legal training. So I think you're better placed than I am to speak on the matter. So I want to hear your views on this whole situation.
Yeah, well, first of all, Spider, I would like to... I watched the video that was released. It was released and we all watched it and we saw what we saw. And what I saw from Eldris Charles was a woman of courage and a woman of grace in terms of how I saw her at the Parliament trying to get the interview. And I believe that she was there with permission, because the ministers, some of them did give her an interview. And I saw the way she was asking, and even when she was speaking, doing the interaction with the minister, I don't think we were hearing what he was saying, but we could see the body language and we could make up our own minds about what we saw. And then the speaker, even before that, had come to say, well, he saw the video and, he's sort of like, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't see anything of what she alleged happened there and what he's going to be, not quote unquote, but I'm paraphrasing, as I said, looking forward, sort of, or expecting to see, or that a prosecution, or she's going to be prosecuted for wasting police time or whatever have you. And had we not seen the video, I think the public would have believed the Speaker of the House that he saw this, and she was basically alleging something that didn't happen at all. And what I'm thinking of in terms of where this matter is at, and I've publicly asked the police for an update on this, because like you, I heard that there was a lineup, and I heard that she had positively identified the Minister of Tourism as the alleged perpetrator of the alleged crime, and we've just heard nothing at all have we heard since then. The police have told us nothing at all, and from my knowledge, and I'm subject to correction on this, there would be a lineup and an identification parade only after somebody's charged. Was the minister charged? With what offense was he charged? We don't know that. Had it been an ordinary citizen, that would have been public knowledge. In some cases, the person's picture would have been posted everywhere. Had it been Eldridge Charles, who they were already anticipating a prosecution, had it been the case that she in fact said what was not true, we would have known what would have happened to her, because it was always already being looked forward to from the highest level.
Right.
But it's the shoe is on the other foot, and there is complete silence. Now, what is the ordinary citizen expected to make of that? She went there to ask the ministers questions where nobody else dared to. As she explained, I mean, I was not there in the vicinity of what happened, neither did I see it, but she explained that she was waiting because the Prime Minister was having an interview, and she thought it would have been discourteous to breeze past him. So she was waiting for him to finish speak so that she could make her exit. And she explained all of that with grace and respect from what I saw. Maybe there was stuff I didn't see, but from what I saw, I saw somebody who genuinely had a reason to be there, was entertained by some of the ministers because they gave her an interview, and she was waiting to make her exit. A law-abiding citizen. And then she is allegedly, we have this allegedly because up now we don't even know if he was charged. We suspect he has been charged because of what has happened with the lineup, of which we heard happened, and the police haven't clarified either. And where is Eldridge Charles now? Where is she? What is the ordinary citizen supposed to think if they have been assaulted and they've made a formal complaint to the police? Because it's a high-ranking official, it's okay? And then we have so much crime in the country. How can we ever deal with it?
Yeah, well, and that's a concern I have, that, it is said that, justice must be seen to be done, and the perception must be that there is in fact justice. And with what is transpiring right now, it's very easy for people to assume that because of who it is, things are handled in a different way, as opposed to had it been just an ordinary citizen. And so we have to be very careful about those things, because these things can have serious repercussions, not only in terms of the confidence that people have in our justice system, but in terms of how they will react, later on. And so, that is one issue that, I wanted to hear your comments on and so on, but it appears when talking about high-ranking officials, as you put it, that there seem to be impunity when it comes to high-ranking officials abusing people. And I'm going to be very specific. You have Richard Frederick, who is a member of cabinet, who has a talk show like I do, and on a weekly basis almost, he goes out to abuse, intimidate, and, make allegations and so on about individuals. And he uses his privileged position to get information on people, as he himself has admitted, even information from the police, and then makes revelations on people's private, personal affairs on TV and radio. And that is known to all, except, I suppose, the Prime Minister, who has not done or said anything about it, And, these are the things that we cannot tolerate and entertain in a society. When it's happening from such high level, what do you expect will happen at a lower level? So I just want your take on that.
Our country is in a very, very sad state of affairs. Very. We are on the edge of the precipice. And the way I feel about it, it's if we allow the Labour Party to come back in there, all hell will break loose, and I mean it literally. We will not see crime. We haven't seen crime yet if we allow the Labour Party to get back in. Because the Labour Party's actions and inaction facilitates crime as far as I am concerned, supports, facilitates, and encourages crime. Because, I mean, I've served in other administrations, and if you did something that you shouldn't have done, you would get a call from the Prime Minister. And you would have to explain your behavior to the Prime Minister. And I'm talking about both Labour and United Workers' Party. We have a Prime Minister now who doesn't know, doesn't want to know, never sees, does not want to see, and washes his hands of anything that happened. Calix is a big man. This person is a big man. That person is a big man. He can speak for himself. You are the Prime Minister. You are the one who has people in cabinet. From the day after the election, the Prime Minister one who appoints ministers at his pleasure. If the Prime Minister wants to reshuffle his cabinet, he does not have to even inform the minister that he will not have a job tomorrow. I was fired on TV. I was fired on national TV. I was not called and told I'd be fired. I was listening to Kenny Anthony's speech like everybody else. And when Kenny Anthony announced the ministries, I realized I didn't have one. That was in 2003 after I was on my second term of office with the government. That's how I was fired, on national TV. And when I heard I was, up to now, Kenny Anthony hasn't called me to say I'm firing you. Right. This is what a Prime Minister has the power to do. He doesn't want you in his cabinet tomorrow. He doesn't have to give you a reason. Philip J. Pierre loves what Richard Frederick is doing, and he wants him in his cabinet. He needs him in his cabinet. And he needs him very close to him in his ministry. And I'm saying this with no hesitation whatsoever. And, you know, Andre, violence doesn't start with a violent act. It starts with violent thought. Someone doesn't just wake up. Of course, accidents happen and people get killed sometimes, you know, but that's not a homicide, you know. You think of, there's a hatred that comes. And before you go out and commit harm someone physically, you think about it. There's violence, there's anger, there's everything that happens before you go out there and commit the crime or decide to kill someone. And if you day in, day out assaulting people, using violent words against people, and I'm talking now about the ministers hearing this, happy with it, no problem with it, celebrating it, soon you yourself will go out and assault someone because it's in you. You've already accommodated it. You've accommodated the thought. So it's not difficult for you to find yourself putting your hand on someone. Because day in, day out, you've accommodated assaults against people. You've heard it. It's okay with you. Then it becomes you. That is why the Labour Party is so dangerous for St. Lucia. That is why. And that is why I'm not going to repeat it here, obviously, because I've been taken to court over it. That is why I'm not scared to tell Philip J. Pierre what I think about him. Because, you see, a leader has to be a teacher. A leader sets the tone, a leader sets the example. And a leader, rightly so, ought to be held to a higher standard. because you're saying what is okay in the country. And your silence speaks loudly. And the time is coming where St. Lucians will have to speak, where it's only every 5 years, or if the election is called before the 5 years, that the electorate has a chance to speak. Rarely. I mean, we can speak, we can agitate, but really our speaking is in our voting. And we need to say, all of us, resoundingly, we need to say to this administration, St. Lucia is better than this. St. Lucia is better than violence. St. Lucia requires accountability from public officials who've acquired wealth that's inexplicable. We cannot have discrimination perpetuated at the highest levels in our country. It is wrong. And all of the other things that we're seeing. Crime needs to go down. I mean, there's such a lack of respect on the road. I don't know if you see it.
But you know,
I get cursed on the road for nothing. Honestly. Drivers now are so ready to curse you, the biggest curse words. And why do I get cursed on the road? And let me give you an example. I mean, I've been driving since I was 21 years old. Okay? I've been driving for more than 35 years. I mean, I don't call myself a boss driver, but I think I'm a safe driver by the grace of God. And I get cursed the biggest curse words because I've stopped at a red light and there's no vehicle coming the other direction. The driver is cursing me because I'm not breaking the red light. I get cursed big curse words because I'm stopping so that I can move in, get off the main road, and the person thinks I'm not driving fast enough. I get cursed because I'm not overtaking a driver and the person thinks I ought to overtake. Is it just me? I mean, they're not cursing me. They don't know I'm the one driving, but the curse word is flying from the minibus, flying from the car. And it happens almost on a daily basis, you know. It's just a lawlessness in the place. Lawlessness in the place.
But I want to ask you this question. You were talking about crime, you're talking about lawlessness. We have an institution, the police, that is supposed to uphold our laws, enforce our laws. But you have a situation where we have at the very high command of the force an individual who has been accused by a number of female police officers of sexual assault. I have my own views, my own feelings about how this whole situation has been handled. First of all, forget me, it is standard practice that if there is some allegation or accusation about you, an investigation must ensue. And to facilitate that investigation, you would be sent home, sent off the job. Instead, I don't know how you think I would feel if I am the alleged victim, to see, rather than you being sent home for an investigation to be carried out, that you are promoted. That is what I see happening. I just want your views on this whole situation, because perhaps I'm the one seeing it wrong.
Yes. You see, again, Spider and Andre, the environment, the whole environment that this government has created facilitates all of this. The whole environment. I mean, long ago, well, not too long ago, if a situation like that happened, if somebody felt this allegation was made against them, sometimes whether or not it was true, and we don't know whether it's an allegation or although there have been formal reports and whatever have you, the person would offer his resignation. The person would say, look here, I intend to defend myself. This is not true about me. I am going to go to the full extent to prove my innocence. But I appreciate it's harming the organization. So I will, for the time being, step aside and go and do what I have to do. There used to be honorable people who did not even wait to be fired, who did not even wait to be sent anywhere. It's okay. I understand. The police is such an important organization. We have so much work to do within the crime that is infesting the country. I do not want to hamper these operations in any way. I don't expect the Prime Minister to do it. I'm not waiting for the Prime Minister to do it. I'm looking right past this Prime Minister. I'm not. I'm gone already. Philip J. Pierre is no leader. I'm not expecting anything else from him. I'm not. And on a previous occasion, I called on the police officer in question. I called him to do the honorable thing. Step aside, go and deal with this matter to allow the police force to work with respect. But clearly, from the Prime Minister's point of view, and that's how he has addressed many things, it's hands up in the air. It doesn't matter about the allegations. It doesn't matter that they have been formal reports made, formal reports that warrant investigation. But I last heard that these matters are closed, aren't they?
Yes, closed. Some of them.
Well, the DPP ruled on this particular matter.
Ruled on it, that it's closed.
Yeah, but not all of them. I understand there's still one outstanding.
And, and again, I think about those brave women. It's not easy to report that you've been sexually assaulted. I mean, the women who've been sexually assaulted who go to their grave and they never tell anybody. They never tell, not their sisters, because they feel so embarrassed, feel so abused, really, and feel so ashamed when they have not committed any crime. But this is the nature of a sexual crime. This is how it makes one feel. So it takes a lot of courage, especially in a small society like ours, where everybody knows everybody. And not just that, nowadays the world is, something happens today. By the way, hello to all the people of the diaspora. This is what it is. And to think again, just like that, what does that say to all women out there? And that's what I want to ask our sisters today. What does that say? What does that say to all the women out there who are abused day in, day out? Is someone who's facing domestic violence going to even bother? And as we speak, the shelter is still closed. The shelter remained closed for almost 5 years under this government.
So, Ms. Flood, as a lawyer...
Can you imagine?
As a lawyer, this case involving the senior police officer, can that be reopened, especially since the DPP has ruled on it?
Well, first of all, the women can bring a private prosecution if they wish. And I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I would think that a private prosecution could be brought. From what I heard, was said that there was not sufficient evidence when the DPP looked at the file. I think it was one of the police officers who was giving a comment on that.
Right.
When the DPP looked at the file, or when the file was looked at, it really didn't have. So let us just say, and again, I'm subject to correction on this. If there is additional evidence that can be brought forward, perhaps it can be reopened. I'm subject to correction on this. I'm not a criminal lawyer. But I do not necessarily think that is the end if the women really want to pursue it. There might be other avenues that can be explored. But that would take so much courage. And the system is corrupt, or it appears to be corrupt. If it's not corrupt, I'm subject to correction, it appears to be.
But
it appears to be so.
When there is the perception that even police women are victims, can you imagine what ordinary women will think and how they will feel? And that's the concerning aspect of it, Yeah, but I want to just change gears a little and ask you, I mean, you are, if I'm not mistaken, among the first 3 women to be elected to Parliament. I mean, Maroc was the first, and then I think it was Melissa and yourself afterwards. We have seen more women in our politics now, not as many to say that we've gone to the point where there's proportional representation of women in politics, but at least there are a few more. I know each side has at least 3 candidates that are women in this upcoming general election. I just want your view, having been there and been among the early ones too. What is your take, your view, your sentiments about women in politics, how women are treated and so on?
Well, I'm really, really pleased to see women in politics on both sides. I think it's really important that we continue to put ourselves forward. So I want to commend the 2 new women candidates. Well, not the 2 on the Labour Party side, and we have 3 on our side. So I want to commend all 5 of us. I say us.
Well, there are 3 on...
new, I said
new. Okay, the new.
Emma's been there from before, yes. So this is really a good thing for women generally, to see that, people often say it's a man's game. I don't think politics is a game at all. I take it very seriously. It's not a game. It's about people's lives, and it's very serious business. But women bring particular skills to any organization. We have a different perspective in things. There's an intuition we have that we bring to the table. There's a go-get-it, no-nonsense approach that we can bring. Not all women bring it, by the way, because I've been sorely disappointed with the women of the Labour Party who are current ministers, and I've said so before. But from a general point of view, the feminine traits that we have can get so much done and can bring such a more balanced perspective to decision making. So we need women there. When women put their heads together and they fight, nobody can test us in terms of going out there and getting. So I want to applaud women who have come forward, who've put themselves forward. Now, we have some great women on our team. We have Marcella Johnson, who's just amazing. I mean, Marcella and I go way back, way back. And I don't think Marcella ever thought that she'd have entered politics, because she used to say, Sarah, but how can you do this? How can you do this? She laughs, she smiles very often. And Marcella is in politics today because guess what? Women need to step forward with what's going on in our country. The cost of living. It's women who feel the brunt of that most. When we wake up in the morning and we've got to prepare lunches for our children, we have to figure out what goes in that lunch kit. And trust me, I've been there because I have 2 children. By God's grace, they're adults now. But when you wake up and you try to figure out what's going in the lunch kit, that is with what's going on here in terms of the gas prices, the 2.5% levy, the cost of bread, the increased cost of transportation, the absence of health insurance, you just name it. Every morning, all of these things affect a woman just from the time she gets up. Bus fare. Does the child have a runny nose? Do I have anything to give the child in terms of medication? Sometimes, even at the preschool level, you send your child with a runny nose, the child is not allowed to come to school, because if the child has a runny nose, all the other children are going to get sick. But you don't have the medication to give the child. So you have to keep the child home. That means you can't go to work because you can't afford daycare. Listen, women bear the brunt of the cost of living crisis that we have in this country here today. And this, I'm just explaining this to see why it is so important to have people who feel it, who know it, who can be there to say, no, we need to address this. And I believe that all three of our women candidates have their hand on this. Laura Jean-Pierre, Lady Lee. These are women who are seasoned, let's put it that way. They have their feet on the ground. They are mothers, they are wives, they are members of their families who work to support their families, and they understand the plight of the common man. And trust me, they're not afraid to articulate it. I can fast forward and see Laura, Lady Lee, and Marcella in cabinet fighting on behalf of women and families in St. Lucia. And I'm saying the gentlemen had better know that we will have some serious women in cabinet advocating for women. And I want to encourage the women of St. Lucia, the people of St. Lucia. I mean, I've heard men say that they prefer a woman to represent them any day because they know we are fighters. They know we don't take no for an answer. So I'm really excited as I'm leaving politics.
You're leaving?
Well, I haven't put myself up for elective office. So let us just say this is my exit, isn't it, Andre?
Asking me.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, because you've asked me the question, am I leaving? Well, I've not put myself up for elective politics. So.
It's just about asking the question,
yes.
So honestly, whether you intend to...
I haven't put myself up and I don't intend to do it again, no. Mm-hmm. We're passing the baton, you as well, Spider. Mm-hmm. I am so excited.
You agree, Mr. Montos?
I'm so
I have passed the baton.
Right. I'm so excited and so willing to pass the baton to these women who I know will do an excellent job for the people of St. Lucia in cabinet alongside the men.
And talking about advocating for women, let me ask you a very important question because you've been in government. Why is it so difficult, because it seems that way to me, to change the law where it relates to single mothers and child support? I think there's a ceiling right now of $200 a month or something like that. So we're talking about advocating for women. Right. Why has that been so difficult to change that?
I think it has to be balanced. To be honest with you, it has to be balanced. Fathers need to be child support. There's no doubt about it. Children also need fathers to be with them, because a single mother raising a child, even if she's able to provide food on the table, the child needs to have the presence of the father to have wholesome, holistic development, particularly at the tender age. We don't need fathers in jail for not paying child support.
I agree.
Right. So it has to be looked at in a holistic way. Men must live up to their responsibilities. The society and community must support men. We need to have opportunities for young men to excel in education. The girls are pacing. We need to have court systems that understand the dynamics and needs of the family to support both. We need to make sure we can provide employment and support systems for young men who go astray to pull them back in so that they do not reach a situation where they're sitting on the block, unemployable, and unable to meet their family commitments. And we also need to have a society that encourages building strong, healthy families, where men and women understand that they can't just simply have sexual relations and walk off without commitment. Andrea, I think you'll agree with me on this, and Spider.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how many children are born out of wedlock here?
Too many.
And that makes the man believe that he can just walk out. There needs to be a firm commitment. This is why our party supports family, because it is the building block of society, where people are in a committed relationship, where they are both committed to the children that they bring forth, and they're in a legal relationship, and they don't just walk off because something goes wrong. There are times when even in the best of relationships, something can happen and the parties cannot work together.
Yes. So
Even they are two perfectly good people, circumstances, or they may just not have been compatible. We appreciate that. But that should be the exception and not the norm.
we agree.
So we
So
have
let's
to
talk
look
about
at the
the-
whole
let's-
framework.
So let's talk about the exception,
Right.
Ms. Flood.
To answer your
How do
question,
we address this?
We can't just look at it, oh, men are not paying. Obviously, they need to be paying up, but let us also look at the situation, how it is men have found themselves in this situation. How is it young men have grown up to feel that it's okay not to make a firm commitment in a relationship?
Yes.
So a lot of dynamics, churches, schools, parents, leaders, we all need to be speaking the same language, and not just speaking, modeling it so that our strong, healthy families are built from the bottom up so that we do not have that problem, or that if we have it, it's the exception. Sorry, exception. You were telling me.
Agree. So let's talk about the exception.
Yeah.
Why has it been so difficult now to offer support to these exceptions where you have females,
Yeah.
single parents, and they're dealing with a guy who's not committed, he's not doing his... So the law has to force him now to do the right thing. So I'm asking, why has it been so difficult to address this issue? Why is it that single mothers continually have to be going and begging and pleading, taking these guys to family court, and all they get is $200? I'm saying, what is the problem? Why has that not changed?
Because our policymakers have not been serious enough about it.
But you were there.
Yes, but it doesn't just take one person. It doesn't just take one person. First of all, Spider will tell you how hard I work. I mean, Spider was the minister for social transformation. He always used to say, Sarah, you're doing more social work than I am. He always used to say, Sarah, you're doing more social work than I am. Yeah. We tried to put together, for example, the Synergy program to provide an opportunity for young men to be able to work. Okay. It's much easier. I mean, if a man goes to court and says, I'm not working, how can there be an attachment of earnings if you're not working? What are the earnings going to attach to? If you're working and there's a job there for you and I've sent you on training, you don't go to work, I'm putting you in jail and you have a right to be there. I mean, look at systems overseas where there is a safety net. There are job centers, for example. Someone's not working, I'm going to give you unemployment insurance for a couple of months, and I'm offering you this training opportunity that is a direct route to a job. You have no excuses after that. I think in our last election, we did promise unemployment insurance. That was one of the things that the people rejected. So I would not necessarily advocate put them in jail. No. Provide a way out. Provide the support system. Give them a route to work. If you don't work, I'll be the first to put you in jail. So it's not just put the law there. It's about what are the social support structures that are going to be there to ensure that the law is effective. And sometimes even the women don't want their child's father to be in jail because they want the child to have access to the father. You know, this is one of the... There have been studies on this overseas, not in St. Lucia, but a lot of young men who ended up in jail say, I was in jail because my father was absent. And that just helps the cycle repeat itself. So in answer to your question, the law needs to be enforced, but there needs to be all those social support
why not change, Ms. Bora? Why not change? You say enforced. Enforced would mean that all they're entitled to or obligated to is the $200. Why can't that law change? That's what I'm asking.
I am saying it should change, but the law is not the only thing that should change.
I agree with you.
So
support
that's
systems
the point
and so on.
right.
Yes, I get you.
So you change the law, put the support systems.
There's another important thing I need to bring to your attention, because we're talking about advocating for women.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr.
No, I'm very interested.
Sorry about that.
I have my own views too.
I had a guest here from the NIC on Tuesday evening, and we were talking, right? Mm-hmm. And I was asking about the support that women, maybe a spouse or a child, after the death of the father, right? And I gave a scenario where a father dies and maybe he has one child, just one, for example, one child, and maybe he's not married. And I was told that if the father was getting $1,000 from the NIC, that child now gets half of that, $500, until they age 18 or something like that. Shouldn't that be looked into as well?
Yes.
Because we're talking about support systems and so on. How can that make sense?
Agreed. These figures are low, as is the public assistance, and to some extent the salaries, the wages that some workers get. But you know something? Unless a country can create wealth, it cannot increase these things just without knowing where the money is coming from. Unless a country can create wealth, and by wealth creation, I'm not just talking about taxes, which is what the current government is doing. The current government is just taxing people. Gas is now a tax as far as I am concerned. We need to have a government that can create wealth, that can harness the physical and natural resources of the country and also invest in the human resource to create wealth. Unless we have the money, we can't put it in the budget. We can't do it. So, for example, one of the seven SOS plans that we've spoken about is health insurance. That is important. That persons
can I
can
interject
go.
here?
Yes, sorry.
You were talking about the NHI National Health Insurance, and that one appeals to me. I suspect more than the two of you, and maybe because of my age. You know,
I'm not far. I'm not far, far behind you, Spider.
So, but
not so far behind you.
One of the things that the opposition is coming with is like where they're going to get the money to finance NHI. But I think the UWP has explained that. They say that if you're working, you make a contribution towards it. For those who are not working, government will contribute. But I just wanted to say that it's not like it's so exorbitant. You know, I listened to the president of the National Police Welfare Association talk about an insurance for police where they're paying $75, Andre. And if a police dies, they get in the line of duty, they get $300,000. If he dies natural death, $100,000. If he has some accident and so on, he gets health coverage for $75,000. Now we are saying at least 100,000 people or more. That's a population of St. Lucia. More than 100,000 people, and it is $75,000. At the end of the day, you all will agree with me. The insurance can afford to pay the police because not every day a police is going to die. You understand what I'm saying? By the same token, many of the people who are contributing, in some cases, may never even draw down. So it is, you know, they're making it sound like it's impossible. I just wanted to make that point so that St. Lucians can understand. It's not like the premium is going to be $75,000. It's not, you know. Yeah.
Another important point with regard to health care, during our term of office, we invested a lot in primary health care and the health centers. So in addition to providing this $75,000 every year, based on how we approached it before, which I'm sure is how, when we get into office, we will do it, continue to invest in primary health care and encourage healthy lifestyles.
Right.
So give
me an opportunity to use my favorite phrase. Andres will tell you prevention is better than cure.
Right.
I will tell you prevention is cheaper than cure.
Right, absolutely.
You know?
So that, you know, the whole question of eating healthy, the whole question of investing in agriculture so we can eat healthier foods. Now that persons can visit a doctor. Well, I'm already talking as though we're in government. I'm saying now that persons can. I see it coming, Spider.
Yes.
So when we get into government and persons are able to have a health card and NHS card that they can go to the doctor, that means that health conditions will be detected early. If a health condition is detected early, it becomes less costly to treat it. If we invest in mental health and prevention, primary health care, there'll be less persons going to the secondary institutions, the polyclinics, and the tertiary institutions. You know, a lot of our diseases are lifestyle diseases. So as we continue to invest in health at the primary level, hopefully the cost of healthcare should eventually come down, particularly at the secondary and tertiary levels. So you find less people needing to be on lifelong medications for diabetes and hypertension, because they would have managed this earlier on. Less persons needing to be on dialysis because they would have managed this earlier on. So this is the vision. So it's not just a question of we have $75,000 a year for healthcare, and perhaps is this going to rise? No, we want to make sure that people are healthier so that the burden or the cost of healthcare reduces, because we have less need to access the more expensive forms of healthcare, secondary and tertiary education.
Certainly. Now, I want to pivot from healthcare to governance. That is a concern of mine lately. Again, I think you're well placed to speak on the subject. I mean, you said a while ago, and I said a while ago, I'm older than you are, but politically, you are much older than I am.
I'm not sure, Spuddy. You've had so many experiences.
Well, that's true.
I learn a lot from you, you know. and we continue to learn every day.
True.
Every day is a new day in politics, as we say.
But I mean,
thank you.
But suffice it to say, some of the things I'm learning now are disturbing.
It's a different time completely.
I used to be the minister responsible for social transformation, as you indicated, and as a result, I was responsible for the SSDF. Now there's this meme going around with me saying that I know Andre interested in that one.
Yes.
Andre, I'm always the last to see all these things. So
feel free to interject when you feel like, Andre.
Definitely.
Yes.
And so I made the statement that 99% of the people employed were in fact supporters of the Labour Party. And so I was taken to task, I was chastised and so on. So I said, okay, fine. If I was mistaken, if I was wrong, I would like to correct myself. So I came back and I said 99.9%.
That sounds like it's right.
You know, and it is a fact. Whether they like it or not, that is a fact. And people don't like to deal with the truth here, but the truth is the truth and it can't be changed. I remember there was this meeting when I became minister. The whole project was set up before my time, and it was set up by the St. Lucia Labour Party that indicated it's a 2-year contract, and after 2 years, a new cohort will be employed. You could go to the SSDF today and ask them. Okay? When I came, I didn't touch the people. I didn't have any interfere with anybody. When the contract came to an end, we went about recruiting new people. There were some who returned, but there were also new recruits. The Labour Party made an issue and said that we fired their people, which was not true. The contract came to an end, and some of them were not reinstated. Some of them were reinstated. Now, what do you mean by I fired your people? What does that mean?
That's an admission.
You know, I remember Emma Hippolyte went to the Grocery Secondary School at the time it was, before it became the Sports Academy, had a meeting there with her people, and you can get footage of it where she was saying, referring to them as our people. Okay?
Well, I guess they mean Labour Party supporters.
That's correct.
Yes.
Which is what I said. Which is what I said. And
so you think there's something wrong with them saying our people?
No, but if you... No, nothing wrong. If there was a fact,
okay.
It was their people. But if you're telling me, when I tell you it's 99.9% of the people were your people, you're making a song and dance about it.
You're the one who said it.
You're the one who said it.
Yeah, remember, you give the statistics. 99.9%.
Yes.
Does that mean you were correct?
I was correct. Because they claimed them. They were their people. You know? Because the point I was making is that they were hand-picking party supporters, okay, to be in the program. Now, I don't get involved in that kind of politics.
I don't either.
And people in my constituency...
When you say that kind of politics, like, what do you mean? Like
victimizing people because of political affiliation.
Yeah.
Okay, and just let me give you an example. And I'm sorry, I might guess there. I wanted to have more of the say.
No, please,
but let me just indicate to you. When I became sports minister in 2006, there were people at the stadium. The people who were working at the stadium were predominantly people from Kaimajé. And quite rightly so. The stadium is in Bosejo Kaimajé area. And so... However, if you know anything about Rosalie politics, you know that if I got 2 votes in Kaimajé, I got a lot. you know, and so predominantly they were Labour supporters. And they were concerned about the fact that I became the minister. Okay? And, I mean, because the biggest flags you saw was from Kaimaj and so on. But I went in there, and you could tell the unease and so on. One of them actually approached me, so what happened to our jobs? So, Chief, are you going to fire us? And so on. I said, well, why would you say so? He said, well, because we are supporting you all and so on. And I realized I could have fired them. And I thought to myself, but that's not right. You understand what I'm saying? I will confess to you that if there was a vacancy, I would look for my person to fill the spot, but I was not about to take away somebody's job because of their political affiliation. So I said to them, you know something? That's a sad situation that this could be so. What you'll need to do, and they're still there, you can go and ask them, what you'll need to do is become unionized. So if tomorrow I'm not Minister of Sports, the incoming minister can just fire you. Okay? You can ask them the other day. I was at a funeral just on Friday, and I met with some of them, and they engaged me for a long time because they had their own cooler as part of the thing and insisted that I come and have a drink with them. Not that they pretended to be my supporter. I know they're not. They know that I know they're not. But that's the relationship I have with them because of that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm saying to you, today, the St. Lucia Labour Party has decided that they will make their people permanent. Okay? That is the nice workers who are the caregivers. And so they had a special meeting of the SSDF because those people work for the SSDF, which is a quasi-government institution financed by taxpayers.
So all these employees there are Labour Party supporters? All of them?
Not
all, but most of them.
About the caregivers.
The caregivers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The caregivers. Because they are handpicked by the parliamentarians and put in the program. So they brought them to the cultural center sometime last week to inform them that they are going to be made permanent. By the way, let me make it clear up front. Andre, don't bother ask me. It's a move I support. Because by making them permanent, what you're doing, you're empowering them that they can come to you and get something on hire purchase. They can go to the bank and get a loan. They're more secure.
Yeah.
So that's granted, nothing wrong with that. But it became a Labour Party campaign platform, okay, by the Prime Minister himself. And one of the workers got onto the podium and said, we have to make sure we go out on election day and vote for the SLP, okay? Because the SLP that make us permanent and so on, and to ensure that Alan Chasney never, maybe a few more nevers get into government again.
So those words actually said at that particular function?
In that function, okay?
So that's why that's why the clip is running around saying that you don't support the NICE program. That's why you were saying so.
That's why I'm saying.
Okay, now I understand.
Okay. Now, it's not that I don't support the NICE program, okay, because we increased the numbers when I became minister.
Doesn't the clip say that?
What?
That you don't support it?
No, I don't say I didn't support the NICE program. They are saying that I got rid of their workers. I didn't know it was their workers. As far as I'm concerned, it's supposed to be SSDF workers.
So let me ask you, Mr. Montuit. So when you didn't renew the contracts of those Labour Party supporters,
some of the NICE workers.
But you said, you said 99
but the Labour Party claimed them. So that is why I said that was proved to me that they were handpicking their supporters for the job, which is wrong.
So how do you arrive at this conclusion that you fired, or you didn't,
which is not true.
Renew the contracts of the Labour Party supporters? How do you arrive at that?
Okay, the contract came to an end.
Right.
And we had to hire, according to them who set up the program, a new cohort.
So the new cohort, included what?
No,
the United Workers' Party supporters, or
no,
both?
Andre, do you see that's where we're going with? The Labour Party has politicized everything to the extent that now it becomes Labour Party supporters. It should be a new cohort of St. Lucians, okay, who are interested in becoming caregivers. Okay, but because they practice that kind of thing where they handpick their supporters. I mean, I will not call people's name here, but in the case of grocery, I can name off the bat known SLP supporters, and I say known because they're always in their red and with their flags and openly showing their support for the SLP. They were in the program when I was minister at the time. Okay.
So can you say conclusively that when there was the new cohort, okay, that favoritism was not shown? As you said, you're making jobs available for St. Lucians.
Yes.
So it included both
whoever came to me and indicated the interest, I referred them to the SSDF. Okay. Now,
so it didn't matter to you who?
It didn't matter to me.
Okay.
It may be that you did not come because you are a Labour supporter, but that's up to you, because you know how your party operates. But I don't operate that way, and that's the point I'm making. Okay, and that's the point I'm making. Let me just say to you, the very SSDF, Joachim Henry, the current minister responsible for SSDF, was the executive director when I was minister. You honestly believe I did not know his politics? Okay? There was a gentleman called Bob from Soufre, forget his last name.
I remember him.
Okay? He was a high official in it. The brother of Dr. Luis, okay? He's a doctor himself, I forget his name now. He was there. The son of Sam Auger, my good friend, worked there. I did not, Mondi Luis worked there. I did not interfere with any of them. They can tell you, I interacted with the executive there, had nothing to do with the workers. Okay? I can tell you, my brother Thaddeus Montut was employed at the SSDF. The moment the government changed, he was gone. Okay? And I can say that openly. He was gone. And I mentioned names to you, so you can verify with them. Okay? When we got out of office, because Joachim went into politics, we got back into government, Alison Matre became the executive director. Once the government was changed, he was gone. But they're going to accuse people of victimization. But I really want to know your view when things like that happen. As someone, you're a 3-time parliamentarian, you've been in government, well, not 3 full terms, but on 3 different separate occasions, on different administrations. I want your take on this. When you're talking about governance, how could you, as an elected member of government, using, and it doesn't matter who I support, I pay taxes. Okay, it is our tax money you're taking. And you go in and, and that is what is happening today. Everything, the lines between state and party are blurred. And the St. Lucia Labour Party is using state resources and state institutions to advance their partisan political campaign. And that is what I have a problem with. So I just want your take on that.
Yes. So, first of all, I mean, I've heard former permanent secretaries speak about this, and this is egregious. For this to happen with state resources, I mean, as I said, we are at the edge of a precipice, and for that to happen so blatantly and openly.
For what to happen?
For state resources to be used for a political event. That's what it was. Someone who was present told me that when she got there were whistles and everything. They came to a political event. Yeah. There were whistles and everything, and it was, you would have sworn you were at a political rally.
And the SSDF is not an arm of the St. Lucia Labour Party. It's
now, let us say those persons who were not there are not on permanent establishment. Maybe they don't know the rules. Let us just say they were caught up in the moment. They got word that they were going to be put on permanent contract. They were all excited. They don't know the rules of the public service. And let us say they got carried away. And let us say that this person who stood up and said what she said, escorted by Spider, also got carried away. Let's just say that. The Prime Minister was present.
And the Minister was present.
And the Minister, and I assume the Minister was present for civil transmission, and I assume the officials at SSDF who ought to know what the rules are. And there is also a permanent secretary for that ministry.
Right.
Let us just say all these people, well, they were there, but the crowd, the persons who made the noise, they got carried away. What should the public officials who know better have done at that event to make sure the rules are not violated in such a public way? They are the custodians of all of the government machinery and the rules that make sure that we can flourish and operate in a democracy. Have they said anything? Did they say to that lady, no, ma'am, no, you don't do that?
You mean after the event, or?
It should have been done during the event, because you've got to send a message right away. It's not to be this way, so that everybody gets it. No, ma'am, no. And you apologize. I'm sorry, this wasn't meant to be this way. This is not a political event. And I appreciate your support, but I would encourage you not to make political statements. You say it right away. Because you are the leaders and you know the rules and you ought to set the example. Up to now, has the Prime Minister spoken about what happened?
Well, I want to go back. I want to go back on your statement about setting the example.
Go ahead,
The example was in fact set by the Prime Minister. Because the Prime Minister, just days before, at a cabinet press briefing, cabinet means government, okay? At a cabinet press briefing, brought Lisa Joa here to speak at a cabinet press briefing. She's not a member of cabinet, okay, to talk about her launching, okay? Her Labour Party candidate launching. That is how far we have gone now. We're blurring the lines between state apparatus and partisan politics. And like you quite rightly said, we are dismantling democracy when we do that.
Very quickly.
And that is very dangerous.
We have dismantled. We have dismantled the government machine. We've done it. We have done it. Sorry, Spider. I don't know. I mean, I do watch Facebook from time to time, although I haven't seen the meme. I don't know if you saw. There's a Facebook video out, and I think somebody called Newspin to talk about a government minister using the government vehicle to go out on the campaign trail.
Yeah, right. To go to a political rally.
Right, and I think the person even alleged that the government minister takes off the number plate of the government and puts on a false number plate.
Right.
Allegations. I don't know if it's true, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's true because of everything else that's happening.
You know, Andre, another incident. Lisa Joai is not an elected member. Okay? She may never be. I hope she will not be. She is a candidate for the SLP, and she comes out to say, now, I mean, people talking politics, I don't have a problem. While they are talking, I am working because I am now installing lights on whatever playing field. Who are you? You're not the parliamentary rep. You're not the minister.
Where have these lights come from?
You're not the minister of sports. Are you installing lights? The lights that are paid for by the taxpayers. Who puts you in a position to say that you are installing lights? So again, they are using government resources